much good to go for Saryuya or maybe Appaloosa in this situation. I think Saryuya gets you to the Appaloosa.
Yeah, I'm interested. I don't know the deck as well as Robin. So Saryuja can pick up a well, anything really. And it lets you do Dragon Links by itself, which is pretty cool.
Yep. 5 monsters on board now. So building his fortress with those negates that are going to start being made at some point. And let's see what Link 4 he goes for.
It's an Appaloosa.
Yeah, that is
Appaloosa has got the 3 down arrows. So he knows he's got enough stuff.
I don't see any way for him to get the Thunder Dragon access, because normally you want to end on a Colossus here. Are you seeing how he's going to be doing this?
It depends what card he drew for the Jackalope, discarding the Thunder Dragon. But I agree, at the moment I don't see it. But he might have drawn one. He has activated Thunder Dragons in hand to activate the effect of the original Thunder Dragon, so any Thunder he gets onto the board will work out.
So the direction that he's going in, for anyone who isn't aware, is basically like the way this deck functions is your end goal is basically going to be like Appaloosa with the multiple negates. The
4.
Right now we've got 4, which is huge. Generally, the attack points are kind of relevant for a lot of decks that go into the Appaloosa. However, this deck tries to end on 38, which is a huge sort of barrier that people are going to find, because like normally you can maybe like bait out like 1 or 2.
And then you can just attack it.
Yeah, exactly. You just attack over it, but the 38 has the redirection ability, so...
It's not obvious when you read 38. You're like, oh, this is also... it comes up a bit, actually. It came up protecting the Hieratic Seal in previous formats.
Oh,
so
yeah.
its effect to redirect attacks is more relevant than you might give it credit for.
There's the Brotor, which is going to get him...
okay, so he's discarding the Hawk. So was that his last card in hand?
Yeah, it appeared so.
Yeah, it is. You don't get the second Dragon Search. I've not played with this deck for long enough, you see. I was like, yeah, what about the extra baby dragon he's got in his hand? But he doesn't have any, because there's only 1 of each.
He's linking off Pisty, and the other dude for a... Is that a Romulus?
That is a Romulus.
Yeah.
It doesn't do much for now.
Is he looking through his deck for Romulus? Oh, he's resolving Pisty, I think.
Oh, he's resolving LP. He's not used LP yet.
Oh, okay.
He used Pisty first, and it looked like he was going to use Pisty, but he just added a Collapse Serpent and then used LP.
So I think generally... Oh, going for a Link 4?
It's not Saryuja time.
Is it Soryu? Will it be?
Okay, I feel like something's gone a bit weird here. I mean, yeah. I'm a bit... So if he'd made Saryuja in the first instance, then he could have made Appaloosa in this situation, and he would have just got to resolve his Saryuja first, right? So I feel like that may have been a misstep, but that would have required him to see quite far ahead. But with all the cards he's used, if he'd just done exactly the same line, he could have just made Saryuja first, resolved the Saryuja, and then now, rather than making the Boral Sword, he can make Appaloosa, and then he would have got 3 extra cards to...
So
with.
what we can see here is Levineer is resolving both effects, not being a hard once per turn for like all the effects. So he's resolving 1 effect for the hand loop effect by banishing 3 darks, and I think he went for just another...
So you can summon it as many times as you like, but you can only use its effect once.
Yeah, right, yeah, sorry, that's what I meant. So like he's putting 2 on the board, and that gives him the 38 here for the protection against the Appaloosa, and I believe he's just passed turn over to Marcel.
He's also got Boral Sword, he's doubly protected.
Yes, so that's a lot of attack prevention on the Appaloosa. Do we see what Marcel drew for turn there? I really hope it's not a hand trap, because that's probably the most frustrating thing you can ever draw as your 6th card against a combo deck.
It was like 6th card always. I'd be quite happy if I was Marcel here.
Yeah, I mean, like he's got Widow Anchor, so he's able to.
He's got Widow Anchor, so that can take out anything.
Something for the Appaloosa. However, the 38 is going to be protecting that.
You have to negate engage.
Yeah, do you think so?
Because if you don't negate engage, there's the threat of them just searching Widow Anchor.
Yeah. And
if they search Widow Anchor, essentially, and then you activate it, they've then got the Widow Anchor in the graveyard. So they've got the engage in the graveyard. So all they've really done is put a Widow Anchor from their deck into the grave. And that's, you know, if you let it through, they're just getting more and more spells. But so in this sort of situation, Marcel could choose to force out the number 38. Yeah.
Yes.
So it's either going to do that or it's going to do something better. So you might as well just negate it now, right? Because Marcel could choose to make him negate it if he wanted to and have the extra spell engrave. So I totally agree with Robin there.
Yep, so that's what he decides to go for, negating that, and after the resolution...
Unfortunately, he's got the Widow Anchor anyway.
Yeah, so there's basically nothing interrupting Marcel from just going off here. Normal summoning the Grepher, pitching the harp, probably send stick, one of the sticks.
One of the... What do you call stick?
Let's go with that one. Orcust Nightmare, yeah. She's got
Is stick the Wonder one?
Yeah, well, I mean...
Or is Nightmare a stick?
I think they're both kind of like sticks, right?
Why do you call them stick?
Because they're long. They're long boys. Long. Right,
Okay.
Harp gets him the skeleton, and we go into Galatea. Do you think he's able to kill him at all?
It wouldn't surprise me, but he really doesn't have to. Because Robin's got no cards left in his hand, and his graveyard is not particularly stacked. So I think Robin's going to be a little bit upset here, because when you're the combo player, you win the dice roll, you don't get interrupted, you have a reasonable hand, and then you don't win. You feel very much like something has gone wrong.
For sure.
It can be a little bit of an upsetting situation when you make this board and they're like, yeah, whatever, and then they just take you apart. So it wouldn't surprise me if Robin packs up his cards in reasonably short fashion, but
We can assume like the fact that he's made a Burro Sword turn 1 without a battle phase is a bit of an oopsie, right? Something went a little bit awkward down the line, or...
Yeah. So as I said, I think maybe the correct line may have been to make the Saryuja instead of the Appaloosa, and then made the Appaloosa later. But maybe he just saw what he could do and thought that was enough.
Long Man comes down, and it's going to be able to remove the Burro Sword if necessary by using the return effect, and then he can put like a thing on top of it, I guess, and send another card, or depends which way he wants to play this. If he's trying to end it this turn, or I guess just clear Robin of anything and just make sure that he's in a good position for the follow-up.
Yeah, it's normally Orcust can OTK on the first turn, but I think normally you're going to want to use an engage.
Do we know if he has 3 spells engraved? It's not really going to be relevant because he's got a guy in the main monster zone, although he could link it off.
Yeah,
but I was thinking maybe he could do something with Shark Cannon, bring in a dude back, and then go from there, perhaps. But I don't think he has 3 spells. No, he doesn't.
Yeah, I mean, he might just decide that a Dingirsu plus a Galatea plus a Crescendo is enough.
Oh, he is going for the Send here on the 38, which I guess is probably the only way.
Robin's on 4,000. This is easily game.
Ah, yeah.
I
He paid
forgot
for the
about that,
Destrudo.
but yeah, he paid for the Destrudo, so that's easily game, because the Appaloosa's got no attack.
Attacks over the Appaloosa with 0. That's 18 plus 26.
You can summon Brotor to survive, but I mean, you've got no cards.
I think the only real top deck of this scenario is just going to be the 3rd Levian here, which...
and then
wait
what?
a second, I actually don't think he plays.
I mean, you can't activate the effect because it's under... you've got Crescendo.
Yeah, but it's a really big beat stick. Like, it's huge. It's like Blue Eyes level.
It is big.
It is massive.
But Dingirsu takes down most big beat sticks.
Yep.
So
just like based on like time, do you think like this is maybe a situation where Robin should really just be picking up his cards and like trying to get as much out of like the next game as possible?
I think when you're playing a combo deck, you don't really need the time as much.
Okay.
I mean, maybe you do. I don't know if he's got any sort of plan. Sometimes when people play combo decks where you have a huge like long turn one, they include like some way of burning your opponent.
Oh, burning cards.
Yeah. So you have like some like if it goes to game 3 and you're going to have it. If you know your turn ones take like 10 minutes.
Yep.
Then you might need some sort of burn card, but I think, yeah, no cards left. That's enough.
That's it. Yeah, he picks him up and wants to go on to game 2, I suppose. And at least this time, he's... What do you think's going through his mind right now? Because like he went first, he won the dice roll. He seemed to... he appeared to have like most of like...
Everything, yeah.
Yeah, so...
I think it is a little bit tilting. So Robin's an experienced player, though, so he's played a lot. He might know that he could have done something different. He'll probably be thinking about that, but ideally you just want to clear it, follow your side decking plan. He's almost certainly got a side decking plan. I mean, maybe not. Maybe you're that confident in your winning against...
Just winging it.
Or maybe you're that confident you're going to win game 1, you know. You don't have the plan for when you lose game 1, but... Because actually winning game 2 is significantly harder than winning game 1 for the combo deck, right? Because they're going to prepare with hand traps. Even though you know you get to go first, they get to side it. You know, you're now scared of Lancia, Burri, etc.
Sure. He's just taking a look at his side deck there. Here, he has nothing for going first other than the option of an extra deck card side, which he's playing Abyss Dweller here. So That's,
Maybe, yeah.
You could probably put that in against Orcust.
Pistola does seem quite good against Orcust, you know?
Yeah, there's nothing else I'd really... I mean, like, you wouldn't really want to put hand traps in if you've won the dice roll, if you're starting out.
So
right?
one opportunity is some combo players now, they're afraid of Nibiru, Lancia, etc. So instead they go second.
And just try OTK?
Yeah, OTKing is generally easier than setting up a huge board which you think your opponent can't out.
Just
it seems funny that, doesn't it? But
yeah,
it is.
It's like, you know...
It's normally easier to just do like enough damage than it is to set up a board which your opponent can't get through, I would say. And
yeah, post-siding, I'd agree with you.
Yeah, and you get the advantage of your opponent potentially maybe if they've sided in like... So I mean, in my side decking patterns at least, I don't know if everyone does this, but I feel slightly more liberty to side out like draw cards maybe or some engine cards because you know you're getting 6 cards when you go second. So you might be happy doing that, but then if you do that and you're made to go first and you've traded in some of your engine cards for these like side deck bombs, they don't actually do anything when you go first, right?
Yeah.
You can have like Lancia and Evenly Matched and Nibiru and whatever, but you know you can't just summon them and make link monsters.
So I mean, yeah, you're right. Like you're looking at like that trade-off of consistency in engine vis-a-vis like that 6 card that you might like choose to see. I think like I mean I didn't see him put in anything special there on Robin's side, so I would assume he probably just wants to go first.
Yeah, did you? I wasn't watching. Were you watching him side deck?
Yeah,
it's very sneaky. That's advanced level casting.
I don't think I noticed anything particularly like outlandish that he did there.
Didn't smoke screen you.
Oh yeah, into like a whole other deck.
Yeah. Ah, the smoke screen side. It's classic.
Maybe he's thinking about smoke screening into Orcust at this point.
That,
you know,
that
like,
probably
should have played that.
Should I? I think maybe the judges might catch that one.
Yep.
So I didn't see Robin point. Maybe he just verbally communicated who was going first. I mean, my guess would be Robin, but it is definitely a strategy people are using more and more.
So we're just getting the hands loaded in now for you as we try and take a peek here. Do you see anything?
Well, let's move over so we can see Robin's hand rather than his board, because it's probably not going to be that interesting right now.
So, Moth, a lot of dangers, a Levineer.
Ah, that's the nasty card you don't want to see when you're Robin, though, that Lancia. So, I mean, to me, I feel like it's correct to play Lancia in the standby phase. But I suppose he knows. So I would play it in the standby phase, mostly fearing your opponent can activate Allure of Darkness. But I suppose he knows that Robin's not playing Allure. So sometimes you might want to hold it so your opponent commits some more stuff to the board. But it feels so awful if your opponent activates Allure and then you're like...
Well, he's not going to be playing Allure.
Yeah, he's not playing Allure because of Sekka's Light. So it's difficult. But I mean, what if now, for instance, Robin just summoned a Collapse Serpent from his hand?
Yeah.
So he wouldn't have been able to do that if Marcel just plays the Lancia.
Well, if he did that, I would be in Marcel's position and I would be very furious because I'd be like, oh, you drew the one of Baby Dragon both games.
Yeah, but I mean, you can play around it. I mean, maybe there's some reasons to hold it. But, I mean, to me, it doesn't seem like... Maybe you want your opponent to commit more cards to the board, but...
As far as I'm aware, like, you know, when you open a handful of dangers like this Lancia I don't think is really going to be doing as much damage as you'd first anticipate, because there is, like, a lot of, like, plays that this deck can do just by spamming the board with, like, all these dangers and, like, link summoning, right? Like,
it's definitely not as good, in my opinion. So what the deck used to do was go through all 3 Guard Dragons and then end on a Hieratic Seal and stuff. But you don't have the Agapine anymore, so you can't just go through all 3 Guard Dragons. I don't know. I mean, maybe it does some stuff, but I don't really know what it does if you're under Lancia.
Probably have a...
Well, maybe we'll find out.
Yeah, like, I mean, he's got Hawk.
He has got Dragon and Hawk.
He's going to go for Curious here, and I would assume he's probably going to dump the Destrudo.
But Colossus really not very good against Striker, against this. I mean, it is good again. It stops engage and stops reinforcement of the army. But again, like, other than that, its main is being sticky, and it's not very sticky against Orcust because they can just send it away with Dingirsu.
Marcel actually had the Ash Blossom for the Curious, which is pretty big. He's not going to be able to like mill any resources or get anything sent to the deck there. So he's going to be stopped there. He still has a Jackal up in his hand to resolve. However, he decides to bring back the Thunder Dragon before resolving the Jackal because you don't want to discard that.
No, you wouldn't know anything about that. You know, using the cards in your hand before activating a danger monster.
Are we referencing my national speech range?
I would never do that.
I can't believe you... Oh.
Yeah.
Darn.
I mean, just summoning, using the cards in your hand that you don't want to discard before activating a danger.
Yeah. Well, I've learned my lesson.
That is next level.
So, see, actually what happened here is that Robin watched my future match and
Oh,
he
he
took
learned.
notes.
Yeah.
He's learning from the best. So I did that misplay so that people could
He learned from
learn
your mistakes.
Yeah, I was doing a service to the community by not normal summoning before resolving a Jackalope. But he's faring a little bit better.
Back to the here and now. So do you I mean, amazingly, he's got away with just an Ash, which seems like you're unhappy if you're Robin's situation. Your opponent hasn't even used the Lancia yet. He's using it now. I mean, the thing is, I feel like you're almost 90% of the time going to use the Lancia, so I don't know why you don't just shotgun it, because if at some point during his turn, Robin could have just dropped a dragon from his hand.
I just really disagree with the Lancia side then for this matchup in general. Like you just there are like I feel the danger heavy hands particularly just slice through Lancia like butter, and
no, I disagree. I think it's quite strong, but we can agree to disagree. I mean, look, I mean Lancia, you know, it's not been sliced through like butter. Well, this is a pretty tame board.
What was he going to do? Like if he?
I mean, obviously the Lancia didn't do anything this turn.
Yeah.
But if he'd drawn like either of the baby dragons. Easily, like, or if you open with Seafoot, right? Seafoot, the new.
Yeah.
You normal summon it, and then you add a baby dragon.
Yep.
And then you Lancia, and then what do?
Yeah, for sure.
The whole point of Seafoot is it gets one of your baby, like the baby dragons, are some of the most important cards in the deck.
Colossus and an Appaloosa with 2 materials versus the kind of more defensive hand, I want to say, with the double hand traps from Marcel.
Well, Marcel's got enough because he's got the drones and the. Very fortunately for him, he's drawn the drones rather than the engage, because the engage would not be live.
Normal summoning the harp rather than the mathematician, because there's really no point in trying to, you know, summon the math and then just get negated.
Yeah,
but,
the mathematician would just get negated straight away.
Being over to attack over the Appaloosa's measly 1600 attack with the harp's mighty 17. Almost as big as a legend.
Robin just showboating now that he is allowed to search cards from his deck. Marcel is not.
With the flex. Oh, look at that prize card in the front. Look at that.
Is that what he's going for? He's got nothing banished. Well, he could add the Broton.
I was just mentioning that he's got a prize card in the front of his deck.
He's probably won one at some point.
He might have. Maybe that should be like a decklist thing. Like if you play a prize card, you're gonna have to like proof of ownership and you know. Victory in obtaining this card.
Proof of victory.
All right, Kagari brings back that drones. He's linking off into Galatea here, and he's, I guess, just. Did
he use the drones here? Orcust is one of those decks. I'm never sure how many monsters you need to put on the field. Because sometimes I've definitely watched people do like Orcust combos where they like activate dangers from their hand, and then at the end of the Orcust combo, the dangers are still on the field. And you feel like something's gone wrong. It's not always obvious that you can use all of your monsters very productively with Orcust.
No, they just really like that 2000 wall of the Jackalope in defense, you know.
Exactly. So in this situation, he's decided he doesn't need the drones. So like a fairly classic play is to just Dingirsu and then make an IP or another Galatea.
IP requiring only 2 monsters, which is the important thing.
It's actually 2 non-linked monsters.
Oh, okay, cool.
But that's fine.
The important thing is that it's usable with tokens. I was kind of alluding to there, unlike the other Orcust monsters, like if you wanted to go for a long here or something like that, or the second Galatea, you wouldn't be able to because they require effect monsters specifically.
Yes.
And he goes into the long gear, so here.
But non-link can definitely trip people up.
Spooky skeleton being used to bring back that Galatea.
So it's some nice placement from Robin. I mean, he's probably seen it before. It's not always like obvious where you should put your monsters. But in this situation, if he could very easily have ended his board. He'd have just done everything on the other side. And most link monsters are kind of symmetric like that. But we see here that if he'd done it the other way around, then the Colossus would be vulnerable to a Longirsu. But here, there's nowhere he can put the Longirsu to make the Colossus vulnerable, unless he somehow puts it on Robin's side of the board.
The leftmost zone is always the one that's safe from the long gear, so because it goes up, left, and up, and then that points to those 4 zones at the top. So yeah, Colossus on the left there, definitely correct. Very experienced in this matchup.
Nothing is safe from Dingirsu though.
Yeah, nothing. Non-targeting removal, the strongest removal in the game. I mean, you can't really dispute that. I mean, rivals almost the power of Madochi Tiramisu, basically, right?
So Marcel electing for the crescendo over the Babel. Maybe he didn't have the chance to put enough Orcust once in his graveyard to make it worth it.
When you have an Omni Negate like Crescendo set for your opponent's turn, and they have a combo deck that's completely had its board broken, and then you're top decking at that point, essentially. I mean, one Crescendo is probably enough, right?
Yeah.
Rather than go for the
Levian
bubble.
is a good top deck, though. I don't know if he's got anything in his graveyard to do the chain blocking.
Is the Levian really that good of a top deck when he's got Dingirson?
Well, you can chain block things, so you can force through an effect in your graveyard, for instance, if you needed an effect in your graveyard, but I don't think he's got any useful effects in his graveyard, unfortunately. It's not bad, though, because it forces out the Dingirsu for free, right?
Sure. And it appears to be that he is resolving that.
Like, as a standalone card, it's probably one of the best.
Levianer?
Yeah, like to top deck when you've got a big graveyard. It's hard to see what he'd have preferred, other than maybe a Draco net.
But